Are you having a hard time figuring out what to get Dad for Father's Day? Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1 and save 15% off your order when you check out Row 1 Brand's Vintage Sports Pictorium Gallery. They have America's best sports art. With over 7,200 historic sports prints, you're assured to find something unique for Dad this Father's Day. If he's an NFL buff, check out the 1963 vintage NFL helmet poster. Shop now at sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
This is our league, and this is your league. From the 55-yard line on CFL America Radio and the Sports History Network.
This is a league of A's and BCs. It's green and red and gold and black and blue. This is a league with 2 official languages and many unofficial languages. It's East versus West, wheat versus iron, love versus hate. This is a league where superstars are extraordinary and ordinary at the same time. It's a league of ice, of fog, of mud and wind. And for one Sunday in November, it's the nation's glue. This is a league as diverse as a country, a league of Jacksons and Kwongs, Johnsons, Moscas, O'Shea's, and Haji Razulis. This is his league, her league, their league, and their league. It's my league, and it's your league. This is our league.
And welcome to the 55-yard line here with Scott and Greg, where we are delighted to be talking today with Canadian football legend, 2-time Grey Cup champion, author, and Hall of Famer, Matt Dunigan. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's just fun talking football, and we are so close on the precipice of starting the 2021 season, and everybody involved with our historic league is chomping at the bit. We've been like caged lions, waiting for this, and thank goodness we're going to have an opportunity to talk about and do what we love to do, and that's play football, Canadian Football League, cover it, talk about it, and put it out there for everybody to enjoy.
Well, Greg and I, we're both, history goobs, especially when it comes to the CFL. And we're probably not going to ask you anything you haven't been asked before. But one thing I've always been curious about, you grow up, whether it's youth football, high school football, college football, you play by American rules. Then the first time you get to Canadian camp, you got one more player, one less down. I was just wondering for you, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make in terms of the rule change? And were there any in particular that actually maybe benefited your style of game more so than the American game?
First of all, I don't know if I had a style of game. Yeah. But I can, growing up in Dallas and playing in the mid-'70s, high school football in the Dallas area, and this 13-4A, it was highly competitive, and Dallas Cowboys were all around me. Growing up in Dallas, we're 2.5 blocks away from the Dallas Cowboy practice field. So I was highly influenced by the Cowboy organization, and dumpster diving, got Walt Garrison's cleats still to this day, just really influenced by wanting to play in Irving, in the old stadium, play for Cowboys, and wanted to play, in the state of Texas. And well, as we all well know, that didn't work out. I went to Louisiana Tech, and then after 4 years there, I found my way to the Canadian Football League. When I went there, boy, it was an eye opener, right? Because you feel like, oh man, I'm gonna go play professional football. You got no idea, you show up and you're 6th on the depth chart And it's like, man, they only keep 2 quarterbacks up here too. So, we better hump it. And so I put my nose to the grindstone and figured it out. And I didn't want to disappoint people back in the States. And I was representing what I felt was everybody that supported me all those years coming up there. And I got to figure it out and make it work. And it was a tough task. To your question, there are so many crazy rules that, you just scratch in your head. And it's like, wow, it's going to take some time. So I dove into the playbook. I know there's some people out there in the streets running around enjoying their new so-called fame. I was staying in the dorms, writing plays down, going over my playbook, just trying to understand, get ready for concentration period in the morning. And that was something that we had to stand out there at 6:15 in the morning. And I'm looking at these guys that smell like a brewery, in the huddle, like old men, and I'm like, holy smokes, where am I? And I'm trying to figure out and verbalize a play and call a play and walk to the line of scrimmage. And everybody goes from left right down. And coach calls out a front and the defense. And you got to say your responsibility in front of everybody. It's a pretty cool process, but it was one that forced you to be on point. And as a quarterback, that's extremely important. And, you don't want to fail in front of people, and you got to know what the heck you're doing and what everybody else is doing. And before you can even start talking offensive football, we had to know the defenses in their entirety. And that comes into year 2 with me. First year, I was just trying to make the team and show them I had some skill set to back up one of the greatest of all time. And so I put, like I said, I went to work and I treated it that way. And I can tell you that concentration period by Pete Catella, our new head coach in 1983, as Hugh Campbell had moved on. I believed, I want to say he was with the USFL. He went down there, and I think one of Hugh's biggest reasons was it was his baby, that 5 in a row Grey Cup championship Edmonton team. And all those guys are still there. And Hugh knew that the writing might be on the wall for this team. And I can tell you that, he left, I think, in anticipation of having to say goodbye to a lot of those great players that he had so many good times and success with. And Pete Catella came in with this concentration period that I'm telling you about in the morning. It really helped the quarterback go through the process and forced you to dive into just the X's and O's on the offensive side of football. But I would say the biggest rule change that was most difficult to deal with, just the space alone. You probably talked about on your show, 65 yards wide and 100 yards long. And from the left hash to the right hash, or left hash to the right boundary is just 41 yards in itself. So if I'm throwing a 12-yard out or a corner route, that ball's got to be roped, 45, 50 yards. And then if I'm throwing a corner, depending on whatever ball you're looking to throw, that's traveling at least that length, if not further. And then you start stretching it down the football field, and there's a lot of field to cover. And sometimes it's got to get there with touch, and sometimes, so timing is extremely important. Sometimes it's got to get there in a hurry. So just understanding just how difficult or different it was with just angles and the amount of time the ball's in the air and just timing it itself. And speaking of time, you go to the 20-second clock, and you only have 3 downs instead of 4. So you get this opportunity to kick it to can to move the chains and keep the drive going. And your time's basically quicker than you've ever dealt with in the entire history of football. It's 20 seconds goes pretty quickly. So communication is extremely important. The unlimited motion, just the mindset of going out there 10 every time you take the field, and just trying to put all those things together. And fortunately for me, I was able to earn a spot in '83, and Cliff Olander took his job, and it was unique because, guys, you have to understand, back then the coaching staff really wasn't making the changes, and on the football team. It was the players that were running that football team, and the veterans that were there. And there was only 2 new faces from the 82 Grey Cup championship team, the 5th in a row, to the 83 club that took the field. There's only 2 changes. And that was myself and Blake Dermott, who went on to play 15 years, a local Canadian center who had a tremendous career and is involved with the Edmonton Elks right now. I can tell you that we felt privileged and honored to be the 2 guys to make the club that year. And I didn't do much. I think I threw 26 passes my rookie year. I charted 501 of Warren Moon's passes, and I had pom-poms and I was cheering every day for him. I was just still trying to absorb differences and the nuances of the game with the limited reps that I had. And I'm going through practice, and I'm running Skelly or team for the opposition, and I'll just stop. And it's like, because Kevin or Towns, or Potter or somebody would be like, they'd be way ahead of me, right? And they're like calling out where the play is going before, and I just stop. So what are you looking at? How are you connecting those dots? What are we tipping off here? And those guys were looking at me sideways. It's like, who is this crazy son of a gun from Texas? But I was trying to learn, absorb, and extract information every way I could. And Picatella's concentration period in the morning, writing plays down at night, not going out chasing the cat and running the streets, just staying focused and watching the Warren, asking these veterans and these unbelievable football players and people what they're doing and learning from them. I extracted as much information as I could to try to dial in. The fact of the matter is, it took me probably another 6 years to figure out that game, yeah, seriously, before I felt like I could go out there like Rambo and just ready for anything and say, bring it, And so it was a crazy start, never been to Canada. Roll out there and land in the airport, feel like you landed in Red Deer, and drive like an hour, north to get to the city. And then you roll up into the city, it's just gorgeous, This river through it in the front of it, and the backdrop is the big city downtown. It's just a gorgeous place, and I fell in love with it. Fell in love with the league, and here we are 38 years later, and I'm still involved with it, talking to you guys.
How about the weather? Did you fall in love with the cold weather?
Oh, it's right there. I'm that. Yeah. That was different, but hey,
yeah, I imagine going from Dallas to Edmonton, and imagine that first winter.
Yeah. I mean, we got to get to that though. You had a lot of time to appreciate the long summer day that Canada has too, right? And I think it's God's way of offsetting the brutal cold that they have during the winter. And it gives us Canadians during the summer some really long days, and it's like the sun's coming up at 5 and it's not going down to like 10:30 at night, and so you've got a long day. You can start barbecuing at 9 o'clock at night and still got an hour and a half of daylight. It's pretty good. So you learn how to enjoy those days. You're not sitting around on your butt, waiting for stuff to happen. You go out and make it happen. You take advantage of beautiful days, and during the winter, you can't sit around. You got to figure out ways to be active, and it's not going to happen. If you're waiting for it to happen, you got to go make it happen. And that's a really cool thing about Canadians, and I think how they're kind of weaned and brought up and taught, and their approach to life is, man, when it's nice out, they're out. They're at the parks and they're out enjoying it all day long. And then during the winter, you're finding yourself walking. It's minus 20 degrees. You got Eskimo parka on, and you walk in here. I remember going to Mike Kelly's, a good friend of mine. It came up later in my life, in my career, and I godfathered his daughter, Lindsay Rose. And I remember going to Mike's when I was in Winnipeg. This is kind of proof in the pudding of how people do things there. They're not waiting; they're making stuff happen. I took on that full mentality. And I'm going to Mike's, walking like 3/4 of a mile just for something to do, and it's -20, and I'm like Nanook, and I can't even see anything, as I'm walking to this place, and as many beers and whatnot in my pockets as I could stuff in there. And so I'm it's like I'm weighted down too, getting a workout in, knock on his door, it's like, who the heck is here? It's like blizzard out. It's like, what's that? And then people just get out and do that stuff all the time. And I love the mentality. I took that on and took the best of every city I played in and enjoyed Canada over the years. But for that game, got to figure it out. I was pretty lucky in 1984, y'all. Steve Goldman, offense coordinator, came in, and Steve came from Temple, and he had success there. And I didn't know him from anything. He put myself, and then eventually Damon Allen and Tracy Ham and Henry Burris, who he coached at Temple. So 4 Hall of Famers he put through his way of teaching and gave us an opportunity to extract the right way to do going about facing all the different problems you have and things going on in the Canadian Football League. And Steve was real unique. We were all blessed to have him in our lives because he prepped us. And like I was telling you earlier, in the concentration period, Pete could tell, I can tell you that Steve demanded us to understand every aspect of defensive football and everybody's responsibilities on that side of the football. And before we can even start talking offensive strategy, schemes, and formations, and why we're doing things, it's important to understand why you're what you're attacking. So front stunts, coverages in the back ends, you name it, we're up on the board drawing it and learning defense like we're playing on that side of the ball. And then we would do things offensively, completely different game plan. We'd have to go up there and draw a play that we liked against this defense and tell everybody why in the room. And so now you're coaching and you're strategizing and you're scheming and you're creating space and understanding pre-snap motion dictates the defense and how you connect the dots before the ball's in your hand post-snap. And so we all got a taste of that, and we're given that opportunity, and it's amazing, amazing approach because back then, 1984, Jackie Parker becomes our head coach. Pete Catella's gone. Steve's on our staff. He's teaching me this and how to go about it, and it benefited me for the next 13 years of my career because I took that approach and was able to call my own plays 13 out of the 14 years I played in Canada because of it. And that's when, and if you have the right people that are, coaching you and working with you, because it's a pretty cool opportunity. It'll get your pee hot in a hurry when you got to call your own plays. And, it's the second year of your pro career and you're taking over for a legend in Warren Moon, a team that was considered the best ever. And, it got your attention. So all those nuances of the game and all those little tiny things, it's like you're focused and you're working a job and you're layering your knowledge of and ability to excel once the whistle blows. And I think you would get the same answer, I believe, from Damon, Tracy, and Henry about Steve Goldman and how much his preparation benefited us and propped us up to have the Hall of Fame careers we did.
Yeah, it's just amazing to think, like in your situation, you're following a Hall of Famer, you're at a team that has such a great culture of winning.
Yeah.
And then I can only imagine what you must have felt like the first time that job was yours. And so basically the team was yours. I mean, that had to be one of the coolest feelings that you could possibly imagine as a competitor.
Well, I never felt like it was mine. I just felt like the responsibility of where that team was going was mine. And you never really feel comfortable. You talk any quarterback just finished training camp in the CFL right now or in the National Football League as they open theirs up a couple of days or yesterday. I think that you know, you can never be complacent. Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, you know, that guy. I mean, he talks the talk and he walks the walk, right? And just watching him interviewed before training camp started the other day, I just like choked on myself. He's like, that guy really doesn't care right now. But I didn't have that feeling, you know. He does care. Don't get me wrong. I get that. But he's focused and he's giving himself to that football team. And I was trying to do, and it's the only quarterback in the league's trying to do now as they finish training camps is respect the opportunity and to give it your best. And that's going to take every ounce, you know, of energy that you have to give to it in order to hopefully give it to somebody better than when you found it. And I knew I had big shoes to fill, and I remember the answer when I got asked this question. I think it was Cam Cole or Terry Jones. Those guys said, "So what's it feel like to replace one of the all-time greats, Warren Moon, and fill his shoes?" And I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure Warren took his shoes with him, you know, and I got a pair here, so I'm just going to wear mine and figure it out and go from there." And so I'm not feeling his shoes. I'm wearing mine and playing my game. And it took me a while to figure that out. But, I never once felt like I was safe or like it was my job. I'd prove it every day, every play and practice. And you can ask anybody, whether it was a preseason game or whether we were going through practice. I was full speed because I felt like that's the way I was taught. That way in Dallas. And it's no good going through the motions because the game is so much timing and tempo and rhythm that you're just pissing away effort and energy if you're not hitting it 100%. That was my approach. And so I was motivated. I was always motivated. And that continued for 14 years, no matter where I was playing or what uniform I put on, because I always took that approach, respected the game, and never felt comfortable like something was mine. It's not. I'm just here, paying it forward, trying to leave in a better place than when I came and earn a living, obviously. But with that approach, I think the best of any possible situation is going to happen for you. Take that approach.
And your career was so long. I mean, I think one of the keys to your long career has been your relationship with your teammates,
mm-hmm.
your line, your receivers. How is your relationship with your teammates over the years in terms of camaraderie, after practice?
That's what it's all about, right? And it to me, it's again. I've just been talking about this recently. My wife and I moved to Destin here a couple of years ago, and we've got some new friends, and they don't know any of the stories about us, our past, and sharing some. Recently, we're talking about Tucci's Gay Palace, and have you ever heard that? All right. Well, not many people have, but yeah, that Edmonton team that I'm speak of, that 5 in a row Grey Cup championship team, they had all kinds of traditions and ways about, making the mundane 6-week training camps go by. And they had a whole lot of fun. And so I cut my teeth in that environment. I remember that. That first day of training camp is a rookie. You got Dan Kepley, Dale Potter, Tommy Towns, Tom Tuanay, Fennell, just David Boone. These guys just coming in and just attacking you during stretch. And Kepley takes, typically people are representing their universities, that they played for. And once you come up to Edmonton, they teach in a hurry. You're not in university anymore, boy. And they rough you up a bit, but biting your ears, and Kepley rips off your hat. Little button that goes on the top of the hats, baseball caps. He'll bite that off, spit it out, throw it back at you. It's like that was my favorite Terry Bradshaw signed, baseball cap. It's like, what the hell you doing, man? And it was this, and so that was just kind of like an indicator of, all right, this is a little different here. These old dudes are just out of their minds. They're bored, just because they win, and they're just playing all the time. And after practice, we'd get up and the team would invite one or two rookies up to this little party area at Concordia College that we called Tucci's Gay Palace, and it was Angelo Santucci, and had nothing to do with his sexual preference or anything. He was. That's what they called it. I learned about it, and so they'd invite one or two rookies every day after practice up to the palace, and hell broke loose up there, and you learned all kinds of new ways to relax and enjoy training camp. But it was like a full-fledged bar up there, and the only thing that Cutler and Lissick had to do was make sure that the coolers were filled with beer and that everything was set for Tommy Scott's little margarita area over in the corner, and that whatever else was looked after. We go up there and play pool and relax after practice. And if you had a chance to get up there, you learned a lot about traditions. What happens? They've got a little 12-foot taped with athletic tape square next to the pool table. And if you happen to step in that square, you now have to dance with Angelo Santucci and a song. And you have to wear your insulation hat too. And it's like, what's an insulation hat? Well, it's a hat that's made out of insulation. You put it on, it's got a big piece of 3-foot insulation on top of it, and wrapped around it and taped, and you got to wear the insulation hat. People, what the hell's an insulation hat? Well, I guess Tooch had a little too much to drink one day, and he couldn't say insubordination, and so he said insulation. And so they made an insulation hat. And so now you're dancing, you're up there, and you're a rookie, you're trying to learn a foreign game, you have no idea what's going on. You're 6 on the depth chart, you're dancing with Angelo Santucci in a 12-inch square, next to the pool table at Tucci's Gay Palace, wearing an insulation hat. It's like, okay, these guys know how to have a good time. And then right before meetings, everybody that's up there, they fly down to the mess hall and grab something to eat and go to meetings. Yeah, that's how they roll back then. Yeah, good.
Sounds like a North Dallas 40 sequel almost.
Well, that's just it. You talk about your players and the relationships, and that's what it's all about. And like I said, I was fortunate to make that team and learn from those guys how they do it off the field as well as on the field. That carried over with me for the next 5 teams that I played with, and I always kept them watered down and fed. And I didn't want my big boys up front paying for much. And no matter what, I was making $42,000 my first year, or it was actually 50, and because I had a couple bonuses in there, and then my first year starting, I made less than that. So my infinite wisdom in negotiating contracts, Norm Kimball, back with my father, back when we first signed with Edmonton, that's the contract we negotiated for us. You go from team to team, and and you take the mentality of, I don't care if I got a dime, I'm these guys aren't paying for anything. I'm gonna water the big boys down, and you do, and it's just you drink with them, you look after them, you bond, and it's a lot easier to go out there and lay it on the line when stuff's not going properly, and you don't have to look left or right to know who's and what their mentality. Those guys got your back, and it's just bonded, and something that I always felt like I wanted to do. It's part of me. It's who I was. remember one of my favorite quotes from Kenny Stabler's book was he studied his playbook by the light of the jukebox, and absolutely love that saying, because there's many times where you took care of business, and your spots, and but yeah, we were out having a good time and enjoying each other's company, bonding. But it's all about those relationships, because when you can't be worried about what the guy to the lefty is doing, what the guy to the right is doing, you got to trust and know who they are when it's getting down to the wire, and all hell can loose. And so you want to be focused on the enemy, and that's a good way about going and getting it done right there.
One thing I've noticed over the years, and maybe this is a case of just someone from the outside looking in, but it seems like CFL players, CFL teams have more of a relationship with fans in the city than you see maybe in the NFL. I mean, it seems like y'all truly had a real kinship with your fans, and I'm just wondering if that was, the case with you with all the stops you made over the years in Canada.
No question. Yeah, when you sign on a contract in the football league, you better understand that you're going to work both on and off the football field, and it's just a type of player that I think is formed and signs on up there, because it's really not, you're not going to get rich playing the Canadian Football League, and it's about extending your career and making a living, but it's not an exorbitant amount of money. It's all about those relationships and putting fannies in seats and getting out there and being involved in the community and paying it forward and giving back. And that when you sign on the dotted line, when you sign a contract with any club up there. If not, you're going to learn about it, because you're going to be asked to get out there in the community and put yourself out there. And I think the majority of the guys that go up there understand and are willing and certainly capable, and just genuine people that are blue collar, just want to go play and give back. And when you start developing some of those relationships and understanding what it's all about, it's at the end of the day what drives them, and so you get all kinds of accolades over the years and recognition for what you did on the football field. But I can honestly say the Tom Pate Award that I received in 1989 when I was a BC Lion was my most prestigious award that I've ever been bestowed to me. And it was because it recognized what I did off the field and in the community. And it's like the NFL Man of the Year, that type of status. And the Tom Pate Award is that type of status in Canada. And it's, to me, that's as real day as long right there. When you're on that level and you're doing that consistently over the course of your career, and like I said earlier, making the place better off, when you leave it than when you found it. So that's all the guys up there, and it is the fans are a part of your life, and I think that's why there's so much excitement right now, Scott, when it comes to putting bodies in seats again and getting the fans and the players connected, because there's a real synergy there, a real energy there. And it's tangible that you feel from day one. It's not we're up here and the fans are down here. We're hand in hand moving forward, trying to enjoy this league and the game we all love.
Well, I'm just so glad it's back, because last year, and you could really tell when you talk to actual, Canadian fans, there was a real sense of loss when that season wasn't there.
Yeah, absolutely. No question. Look, this is the oldest professional football league in the world. And the connection to the fans and passed on generation to generation, and just the traditions are phenomenal. We all understand the traditions that we have here in the States. Just imagine that being another 50 years or so older, than what they've established here. That's why we couldn't have a season last year, because we 65% of our revenue is generated from fans in the stands. And we got 35 million people in Canada and 350 million people in the United States. It's relative, right? You got 9 teams as opposed to 30. It's what makes us work, and it makes the CFL click, is that connection and that tangible feeling of the fans being able to interact freely with the players and vice versa. It's really cool. And there was a big sense of loss last year, and from the fans' perspective, as well as coaches, players, everybody works the stadiums, and it was devastating. And that's whether it's a truncated season now, which starts coming this Thursday. It's going to be good to see that connection and that relationship fired up again.
Yeah, the impact you got, the players, all the players have on other people, on the fans, and you see it. And I know I'm hopeful for kind of a renaissance with the CFL this year, even with a truncated season. How are you feeling with the coming season in terms of, well, we know from what I understand, Saskatchewan is sold out for the home opener. Have you heard anything up there in terms of some of the other teams, in terms of how ticket sales are going, what the feeling is up there?
Province to province, the rules change, government restrictions, the percentage of people they're allowing in the stands, and it's been one, I would say, fairly good news story after the next. With 15,000 available, to sit in Molson Percival Stadium in Montreal. Winnipeg's full capacity, but you got to be vaccinated. And there's all kinds of stuff and restrictions that are constantly moving up and down, and governing each province and what teams can do. But it's, for the most part, it's been positive for CFL fans and for us moving forward. It's a constant understanding that from one day to the next, it could change. And, so that's why Milt Steagles in Atlanta, and I'm in, at my home, broadcasting remotely for the first month of the season. And hopefully we'll be up there for Labor Day, but don't know. But excited to put in the effort towards doing what we've got to do to make it happen, whether at the park, or in the studio or from our homes. We'll do what we've got to do to make this work and give the CFL fans a product that they can be proud of, and a platform they can talk about it.
Well, I know Greg wants to look future, and I do too, but I've got to ask you, I read Going Deep, which I loved.
Okay.
The fajita story. That is just the thing when Bruce McNall and you and Rocket Ishmael were at the restaurant. For some reason, that's just hilarious. I was wondering if you could just kind of share that with people that might not be familiar with it.
Well, not many people are, because you had to be there, and or read the book. And my recollection and my memory, 96, I left the game due to concussions and post-concussion syndrome, and that was just 5 weeks into that season that my career is over with, and that was after the 95 season. So it was 96. I'm in Hamilton now, and boom, my life changed completely. In my chest, my armor was split wide open, and I felt exposed as a warrior, as a football player, for the first time in my life, and I knew it was over. So I'd been dealing with that. So now I'm writing this book, basically 10 years later, with, may he rest in peace, Jim Taylor, one of the best author in Canada when it comes to sports stories. And so Jim and I piecemealed that together, in my banged up memory, and even 10 years later, to this day, I get symptoms. But here nor there, the story in LA, we're whining and dining at Rocket Ishmael, the Bruce McNall, John Candy, Wayne Gretzky ownership group in 1991. And we had flown to Vegas in a Learjet and land on a strip, and limo picks us up, whips us right down to Vegas. And, boom, we're slap wads of money in our hands, and then people scatter and go into the different casinos, and you're rolling in with John Candy and Roger Bishmeal and, entourage of people behind you. And I'm going like, what is going on? You're talking about a blue collar guy that, is fighting for a new pair of socks from the equipment manager, and whether it's Dwayne Mandrusiak or Cato or Danny Webb, it's just the way it was. And now we're being treated like kings. This is a completely different experience. And we do the Vegas thing. We get back in the plane and fly to LA and hold up. Beautiful, beautiful hotel. And next thing I know, we're in the Rolls and we're cruising down to the hot spots, and we pull up to this restaurant. I don't remember the name. It was like the in vogue place to be. I had no idea. We rolling in there, and there's probably like 12 of us, and we sit down at a table, and people the whole restaurant's looking at us, and it's like, okay, they recognized Roger or Bruce. Bruce was the guy. I mean, ladies would lose their shit over Bruce walking down the street, and it's not, and I'm thinking, wow, because Bruce is not really a looker, but they knew who he was, and they loved some Bruce McNall in LA because he owned the Kings and was really a move shaker, and it was the hottest thing going at the time. We roll in a Ragib, and we start to order, and Ragib's sitting across from me, and I'm thinking fajitas. And so they start taking our order. The owner of the place does. There's no waitress or waiter waiting on us. This is the owner looking after us, because this is white glove treatment now for this group of people that I'm now associated with, hanging out with, in this 48 hours or 72 hours, whatever it was. And we said, yeah, we're going to take fajitas. I think both Ryan and I got fajitas. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have tortillas. And I looked at Roger, and I kind of winked at him, and it was like we both got up, pushed ourselves away, and we're like, there's no way, we're out of here. And we start taking steps towards leaving the restaurant, and the guy loses his mind and says, no, and basically forces us to sit back down, and it's just, we will get you tortillas. And so he bolted out the front door, and I know he went down to the local shop and picked up some tortillas at the grocery store, and came back, and we ate fajitas that day. And that's just kind of the impact that Bruce had, I guess, Gretzky and Candy and Roger Bishmeal, and that's the kind of respect they had. Owners running around grabbing your tortillas for your fajitas because you ordered them at the restaurant. They didn't want to disappoint. It was one of those things where we had a good time with it. We had some good stories, from that trip, and some mind-boggling stories. Walking down Rodeo Drive, and Bruce saying, "Yeah, I want you to get something for yourselves," and Roger and I going, whatever. And where he parks his Rolls in a no parking area. I said, "Bruce, he's parking." "No, don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm good." And it's like he gets out, and ladies are just losing it. They're like bumping into light posts, looking at Bruce and trying to figure out, is that him or not? We roll into this place where he likes to buy suits, and it was like Pretty Woman, and the owner were like that. People came out of the woodwork, and next thing you know, there's like 7 guys attending to Mr. McNall, and all he did was he went through this little chart of different variations of the black, and he picked out like 7 different shades of black, and that was it. And he bought like 7 suits, and I'm not going to tell you how much they were. They were just like 7 different shades of black, and it was out of a movie. I went to Versace, and bought something for my wife. I got her a pair of leggings, a pair of shoes, and a top. And that had a hefty bill to it, right? And Bruce was like, no problem. And it's like when Raga went to it was like a Gap store down there. And I don't know how he did it, but he had 3 or 4 bags full of stuff when he came out of there. It was interesting time, right? Interesting time because we're blue collar up there, and it was Hollywood came to Toronto in 1991, and that storybook season, it was just phenomenal because that young man, Raghav Ishmael, he was put under the spotlight pretty good at a young age. And he's 21 years old, and he's being asked to basically resurrect a team, a city, and a league, and fill it with, and showcase his abilities. And we were able to do that in 91. And on the account of the way Raghav handled himself, there was this kid that wherever we go, just like in LA that one day at that restaurant, focus was on him. And there would be a horde of reporters around Raghav, and you had a cast of all-stars and phenomenal football players that had no pressures of media or anything like that. And Raghav was answering all the questions and taking all the energy that comes with handling the media. And we just went out there and played football. And he basically blocked for us that whole year. And of course, the story. We win everything in Winnipeg in the coldest game in the history of the league, and Grey Cup. And we win it. And it was just a euphoric season and a crazy time. You look back on it and you got to pinch yourself. Did that really happen? Like at that restaurant, did that just really happen? That guy just loses stuff because he didn't have tortillas for fajitas. It was like, yeah, that happened. And you shake your head thinking about it. And being able to write that with Jim in a book, an experience like that. It's good to capture those things because hell, my memory, if I didn't read it, it's gone. I don't remember a play in my career. I remember feelings, and I could watch a video and said, okay, yeah, I remember that now. And the hard thing is with me, fellas, is understanding whether or not that is residual effects from post-concussion syndrome, or is that just getting old. You don't know, but a combination of both right now. That's what I'm dependent on just for my sanity is just writing off to both. But that's a heck of a memory, and it's always good to revisit those. I'm really glad I had a chance to put them down into a book with Jim Taylor, who I have the most respect for. And really glad I did that because it does capture, I think, the essence of the CFL. My approach to the game and life in general. Life is short. Go out there and make it happen. And thank God I had a chance to start in '83, learn all those things and understand Canadians and how they attacked life and fit me like a glove, which you needed a lot of them up there because it was freaking cold. Yeah.
Well, there's so much great stuff in the book, but obviously being a Birmingham native and someone who covered the Birmingham Barracudas in 95, I was really interested in how you thought that they failed at marketing, especially with the Southern teams then. And you make some great points in the book about, play on Thursday night, then you don't compete with the NFL and college, but then, the Barracudas were playing so many games on Sunday and things went south pretty quickly attendance wise.
Well, yeah, as soon as the college football season opened up, we were already through our budget for marketing, and we were trying to fight the system. Friday nights was high school football, Saturdays college football, Sunday and Monday. Now every other day of the week is National Football League. But at that point, Thursday was the only available time in my mind is to put your hand out for the viewing public and the people that were looking for entertainment and football entertainment. I think if we would have positioned ourselves, had a TV contract, all the shoulda, woulda, coulda, shoulda, all things that should have been in place, but we really couldn't afford to have it in place. We just were trying to keep the league afloat then and expand and see if we can't create audiences. But the people, you put them in charge and, they get responsibility and they think they know what they're doing, and they don't. You lead you down the wrong way. By the time the college football season started, marketing monies have already been spent and there's nothing else, and the owner's not willing to put more money into it because there's no TV contract, and the things behind the scenes that are already kind of they were shaky to begin with, and there was no continuity or consistency or no rules of play for the owners from franchise to franchise, and they went out and blew the budget. And once college football season started, we couldn't compete with that. I mean, we were 30,000 plus there early on, and then boom, it just turned, and everybody went back to what they do but because they were used to watching high school football on Friday and cheering on their favorite universities and on Saturdays. Sunday, forget about it. We should have been out there on Thursday night in front of everybody. I'm not going to beat up the organization or the CFL or the individual teams. I just know about Birmingham, and I know that the fans loved it, and the appetite for football in Birmingham, as you well know, is depicted on all those jerseys behind you there. The number of professional football teams and leagues that have been through there is phenomenal. And the Birmingham people and people in the South, they love football, no matter what kind. And we had them going early, because we were excited. And we had a good football team. We went 10-8 that year. I missed the first 2 games of the regular season because I broken that knuckle right. That one right there. See how it's doubled up there? Yeah, I doubled up. Yeah, that was Pete. That was down here somewhere. I had that pinned together. Missed the first 2 games of the season, and then I did it again, week 16, playing Edmonton at Legion Field, and hit Larry Ruck's helmet, ex-teammate of mine for Edmonton, and broke it again. Missed the remaining 2, and so I was fortunate to be in front of those fans for just 14 weeks, and I want to play at Legion Field, and it was a phenomenal experience. And those fans are some of the best fans that I've been around. I was proud. I was proud to go down there, back to the States, first time in year 13 for me. And I was an ambassador for the CFL, and I was proud to go down there and introduce all our nuances and the great things about our style of game. It's too bad that we didn't have our stuff together as far as the business side of things go, because they enjoyed it. The fans enjoyed it. And it's entertaining style of football, and they knew that. And it's just sad that it only lasted a year. But those 14 games I got to play in Barracuda off on a uniform, they're playing a run and shoot. John Jenkins is our OC. Man, I've been under center up in the Canadian Football League. I'm vertically challenged. I'm 5'10.5", and I'm like, this is like stealing back here. When you take it out to gun, I can see everything. Because Doug Flutie and I, we talked several times. It was the 100th Grey Cup. Doug and I were watching the game in Toronto, sitting on the floor of the stage where the halftime is going to be performed. And I'm talking to Doug. We're watching the game, and I'm broadcasting for TSN at the time, still am. And I was talking to Doug. I said, man, we had a rivalry that really was I thought fantastic for 7 years. And I remember the first time I met Doug. It was 1990. We were playing back in BC. I was with Toronto. He's now BC, because I was with BC before. I went to Toronto, came back, shaking his hands at the coin toss. And I said, where the hell have you been? You come up out here straight out of college. You've been prime minister by now. And he laughed at me. And he says, yeah. And basically, next 7 years, he was prime minister. He won 6 years out of the 7 he played up there. He won most outstanding player because the game was made for him. But Doug and I sit in the end zone at the 100th Grey Cup on the stage floor of the halftime entertainment's gonna play, and we're watching the game. And I looked at Doug and we're talking. I said, man, I know why you drifted, and out of because he'd be in the gun and he'd drift, and he'd plant his foot and throw off his back foot, and because he was creating vision. And I told him that, and he looked at me, snapped his head. He says, "You're the only one who's ever freaking got that." I said, "Well, dude, I'm taller than you, so I know that I know what you're going through." And it's like you got to create vision. So when you're into the center, the quick, you take a step back, you get a little more vision. Take another step back, take another. Oh, there's a lane over there, and now you're starting the gun. And he takes steps back. And like Doug, he would continue to drift. It was a half roll, a straight back. He would continue to drift, and which created vision for him as well as space. And we know there's a lot of space in the Canadian Football League. And so vision was first and foremost, and space, his mobility. He's making people miss all over the place and buying time and putting pressure on back ends of defense and making plays. He owned it up there. But yeah, it was fun to go down there and actually, get in the run and shoot, get away from the center, and go to gun, and realize that wow, this is a completely different game back here. I'm not buried up underneath trying to throw over 6'8", 6'9", tackles and 6'5", 6'6" guards and 6'6" center. I'm not tasked with that anymore. My task is just manipulating defenses pre-snap, calling plays, putting my guys in the right position, throwing the ball on time. And that's what we did. Absolutely love that game, performing for the fans down there. And it was extremely, it was one of the best times I had in the Canadian Football League, was representing the CFL to the good folks down there in Alabama.
I'm still stunned at what you mentioned in the book about how you found out that the team was folding before your playoff game with San Antonio. I mean, good grief.
Yeah. And, the week before we had thrown out Kevin, who's a third team kid, Kevin, I'm trying to remember his last name. I'm sorry, Kevin Simmons. And I want to say I think it was. Glimpse of my brain. Anyways, I can tell you that it was last regular season game. We're playing in San Antonio. David Archer and the club there, they had a really good team and strong team. I thought we were better, but Kelvin Simmons was his name. So Kelvin goes down there. We rolled him out there. He's like Tracy Ham and Damon Allen rolled up into one, right? He has mobility. He's got a little savvy to him. A little bounce in the step. He can make some throws, and we lose a tight one to them. And then we had to go back there. We get the announcement that the league's folding prior to that game, and we roll Kelvin back out there against them. They had film on now. They kept him in the pocket. They didn't let him run free and put pressure on defenses on the back end with him creating time. And they beat the snot out of us, but we weren't in the best frame of mind going to that football game. I'm standing on the sidelines watching all this happen with a broken hand, my throwing hand, and it was tough. But wasn't the best way to go about doing it. Really, not a good time to let people know that the league's folding. We've seen it happen a gazillion times since then, and it's never really a good time. But that was horrific, and it certainly had an outcome on how the guys went out there and played. It was tough, very tough.
And do you think, in terms of following on that, fast forward, got 30 years to, in the last the XFL talk, what did you think of that in terms of?
I thought it was somebody else's agenda. I didn't think it was our agenda. I think Randy Ambrosi, our commissioner, I think his vision of CFL 2.0 is got a lot of traction. And I think that is I think that is his focus and direction. I think the whole XFL talk the last 10 months or so was not our message. It wasn't. I think it was somebody else's directive. And so that so if somebody brings that up, and y'all know, it's not always your agenda that you have to address in press conferences, and all of a sudden, this is happening, and we are in talks with them, and whatnot. Well, maybe that jumped the gun or pushed, the whole nature of the beast down the road way too far, because we're just talking, but now people want to know what's going on. Is there traction to this? And before the ducks in a row, and before you can even come to any type of decisions or conclusions whether or not this is beneficial for each league, everybody's trying to figure out and have answers. And in the world we are, you got this newsman and this guy, and they're all trying to be first with the latest take on things and having the scoop. And that pressures people, I think, to get way ahead of themselves. And like I said, I don't think it was our agenda in the CFL. I think it was the XFLs more so. And that just kind of got some wind in its sails because of the dynamic of the business and people trying to be first and put information out there. And people are getting into pissing matches about, the CFL and the XFL, and we don't need that. God, it was not good. And sometimes they say, I know it's been said, any news is good news, and I don't think that was very good. But not our agenda. I think it was somebody else's more so than ours.
You'd mentioned the 2.0, that the commissioner's been a part of here for a couple of years. What do you think the CFL can do, I guess, as an organization to help more fans in the seats, to help promote the game a little more? Because I like that idea too. I mean, I like the fact that he was looking globally and the fact that he was just trying to sort of spread the footprint of the CFL as much as he could. I thought that was a great idea.
Well, and it's still something that's happening now. There's 39 other professional football leagues out there, other than the National Football League and CFL. A lot of people don't know that. That's a lot of football leagues out there. And so we've got offices set up out there. And this is one of those scenarios where I think that, trying to get eyes to your game, trying to find ways to maximize exposure and monetize it. And and now we've got international players and a quota for each team, because we deal with a ratio in the Canadian Football League and every roster, and it seems like that's changing all the time. But we do deal with a Canadian American ratio, or national or import, as they call it now. And now they call it international is another category. And so they have international players that are required to be on each roster, so that if you have a Mexican ball player on a team, you've got all of a sudden possibly 4, 5, 6 million more people watching a game than you typically would. And that goes with all the other professional leagues around the world that CFL and Randy Ambrosi, our league, tapped into. And we're inviting these, we have combines over there now and having drafts. And it's interesting to watch this develop. But there's always something that the CFL has had was a ratio. Just they made room for international player now. It's 2.0, and it's to get more eyes to our game and to introduce it to more people. And I think that's probably the best way is broadening our scope of reach is the 2.0 and what we're doing there. I think it's unique. Now, some of these guys, are they able to play? Well, I mean, we haven't found many that are regulars and making an impact on our roster, but yet it's such a new task and new endeavor that Randy and the league is undertaken. It takes time to develop that, right? And practice roster players and guys are being put there, and they're learning, and they're seeing how to be, what level of fitness, strength, speed, all the nuances of the game. They're learning these things. And so the foundation is laid, and I think it's a good one. And I think it's, it's just a matter of time before you start seeing players contributing on a higher scale, on a bigger scale, a grander scale of when the lights are on, which is going to be good for everybody because it gets you excited. I mean, it's like watching the Olympics now. You see all these watch parties, and people watching games. No different watching college football on Saturdays and professional football in states and Sunday nights and going here and involved in this fantasy league and all that. It's just we're broadening our scope, and that's the way we're doing it. And I can just see all these watch parties happening as soon as you start getting these players on the football field, because it creates excitement, just like we're seeing with the Olympics. It's just exciting to watch all these people going crazy, and it's tearjerker, and guys women are winning medals, and families in the background watching them, and they're connecting them because nobody's allowed to be there watching them, supporting them. It's completely different. So that's the way it's going to have to work out for CFL 2.0. And I think it's a good thing, and I think that can be done. We've learned anything in this pandemic is, we're always changing to reinvent the wheel and how to do business differently. And I think we're in the right direction with the 2.0.
And I apologize, I accidentally hit the mute button. But like you were saying, expanding that footprint with the 2.0. I know in my household, my wife's Japanese, and the fact that there are 2 Japanese players on at least 2 different CFL teams means she might actually watch a football game with me. So it's
the idea. And just get fan engagement somehow. And with single game betting, being certificates and licenses haven't been handed out, but it's been approved in Canada, and that's a $14 billion illegal business right now. Let alone legalize that and give people an opportunity to start wagering, prop bets, whatever else, and over and unders, and just start betting on sports in Canada. It's going to engage people. It's a form of engagement. And the 2.0 is the same way. Get people interested in it. Fantasy football, betting, and international player, made the team. And when that happens, when a player makes a play, an international player makes a play in a game, I mean, as broadcasters, one, we're recognizing it, right? Because one, wow, that was either a crazy hit or tremendous play, and two, you're harping on the fact that that's an international player, and that's 2.0, and this kid is from Australia, and and now all of a sudden you got everybody over there jacked up about our game, and it's just another way to engage them, whether it's single game betting, which is around the corner in Canada, and fantasy football, which we know how that engages people. It's like, because anybody can play with anybody. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that that fantasy football is a lot of fun and engages a lot of people. And when it's the third game of a triple header, and the third game is started on the West Coast at 10 o'clock, and it's 1 o'clock, start in Toronto, and you're in the studio and things are getting late. Thank God for fantasy football, because that, it's like it keeps you engaged, man. It's like you were to the last throw, or last drive, don't run it, throw it, it's like you're just all over it. And male, female, old, young, doesn't matter. If you're involved in a fantasy league, it's a great way to be engaged and involved in sport.
Yeah, I'm in 5 leagues myself, so it's
you're submerged in it. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
Players, moves, injury lists, everything about the game now, which that wasn't their part to this,
And I even think I've actually kind of deciphered what a passing rating is. I'm still not unclear, but for the geeks, for all the football geeks out there, as math geeks, football's perfect.
Yeah. It's it is. Baseball, I think, is the ultimate, when it comes to stats. Football is really, I think, a good contender for the top spot there. But yeah, a lot of things you can be engaged with and ways to do it. And that's just another one. And the CFL 2.0, engaging your wife, in our game is a example.
Yeah. And the other great thing too is with fantasy football, it literally, I mean, I'm 50, I just turned 54 yesterday, and
congratulations, happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And,
nice.
I was thinking about this yesterday as I was playing on my birthday, a simulation game, but it's all these things that keeps all of us young. I mean, we're talking football here and, throw out the ages on all of us. But when I sit here, when Scott and I talk football with everybody, we're back to being kids again, and it brings so much joy. And I know, I've been watching you on TV for years, and I always see that joy in your face when you're talking football. So with that said, so what's the plan for TSN? You said you're going to be going remotely for about a month, and then after that is the plan to bring you up north and put you in the studio?
Well, that's as far as they can really project and not lead us astray. We're trying to give everybody an understanding of what the expectations are, travel schedules, just family events, whatever that you have to plan around work. Life goes on, but there's so many changes in what the government restrictions and protocols are always changing. And right now things are opening up in Canada, and, that can change overnight, with, we know that can change very quickly.
Right.
So they're just trying to give us as much as possibly can. Right now, the first 5 weeks of the season is remote shooting, and there's protocols in places, and there are people that will be traveling, but it'll be different, because there's not as many flights going from Toronto to Winnipeg, and or Vancouver to Saskatchewan. Or Regina, there's just not, things have changed. And so travel, how about, how you go about doing it, how you go about interviews, with, everything's Zoom now, everything's doing what we're doing here. And it changes, right? There's no interaction right now. And so all these things are in place and have been in place for the NBA, NHL, all kinds of junior hockey and hockey events, golf, all the other sports that TSN and we cover on a regular basis. Olympics going on right now. It's just things have changed. We'll find our rhythm, and we're just happy to have that chance to find our rhythm. But right now, we're just kind of on call, you're kind of like in the blocks, ready to, explode out of them at any time when the gun goes off. And that's kind of where we're at. And we're just got to have a start on the 5th and deal with whatever restrictions and codes we have to, and go from there. But enthusiastic regardless.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, Thursday's approaching us real quick. And looking forward to seeing you on Thursday night. And lastly, where can everybody find you? I know you're on social media, at least on Twitter. Can you let everybody know where to find you?
I'm Sergeant Rock on Instagram. Yeah, that's what Adam Rita, my favorite coaches and people of all time, head coach of our 91 championship team. Adam calls me Sergeant Rock, so I'm on Instagram. I'm Sergeant Rock there. But where else? I don't use Facebook anymore. I'm not going to go there.
I don't use it either. I think I know where you're headed. So
that's another hour and 15-minute conversation, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I only do memes now. I understand what you mean. I just do funny sports memes on Facebook, and that's about it.
So, I'm just checking out. I don't know where else you'd find me. You'd find me at Dunigan TSN on Twitter and Instagram, Sergeant Rock, and I'm involved with some other companies and things of that nature, but I don't want to divulge that information. Yeah.
Oh, no. That's fine. You gave it, as long as people can find you on Twitter and Instagram. Hey, that's you're just like us. That's where we're at too. So
yeah. I'm not TikToking. I like to watch that,
Yeah.
I just laugh. I smile a lot when I watch that, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you probably figured out TikTok more than I have. I don't even have it. So
no, I don't either. I just, when you go to Instagram.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
And then you can just click on something, and it's one, whatever category you're interested in. You can just fill your boots. And I was last night. I was sending stuff left, right, and center to all my kids and my wife who are back in Texas right now for my youngest son's and his wife's baby shower. And I didn't go down. I didn't go back to Texas because all hell's breaking loose right before the start of the season.
Yeah.
And so they're there, but just sending them TikTok videos from Instagram last night. Yeah, that's what I'm at. All right. So you can look at anything you want right there, and just press on one. And I send that stuff. I send that stuff to them 24/7. It's just like, people are crazy and they're so gifted and we're all so different, and it's a pretty cool way to, to accumulate information, share, reach out, and I think that's huge. And in today's day and world, if you're a giver, give, because we need a lot of taking going on right now. We need givers to give. And, it's just another way to be able to do that. You see something that's inspirational, send it to somebody, and it's no skin off your back. It takes you 2 seconds, and it's a good way to communicate as far as I'm concerned. And it's just my approach, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Your words have never been spoken.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Matt, we really appreciate it. And
expected. I didn't know. And to Jim Mullen and Dave Naylor's credit, I reached out to those guys, said, who are these two? What's going on?
I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to mess with these guys.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to wipe my ass right now. No, but they said, oh man, had a lot of fun. And our mentality is, it's like, it hasn't changed since I signed a contract, my first one in 83. It's like, get out there, man, pay it forward, tell people about the game, make them smile, and just make the world a better place. And Jim Mullen, Dave Naylor, and myself, we're happy to be on y'all's show, to have that opportunity to do just that. So we have
loved every minute of it, and we're hoping to have you on again as the season progresses. Can we shoot you?
Yeah. Stay in touch, guys. Stay in touch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Stay
Matt, we're gonna sign off here, and we'll talk to you here on the flip side of this as we're wrapping up. But good. Yeah, again, for everybody, for Scott, myself, and for Matt Dunigan, thank you very much for listening, and hope to you'll be hearing from us again soon. We're going to be doing a few more podcasts this week on CFL history, and the next one coming up is going to be on football history in Chicago, my opinion of why the Pro Football Hall of Fame should be in Chicago, with the Sports History Network's very own Joe Zimba. Thanks a lot, everybody.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
We'll kick off for victory, cheer them on to the Grey Cup march. Lusty men of energy, down the field on the Grey Cup march. They'll kick off for victory, as we cheer to the Grey Cup march. Leading grid teams you will see, down the field on their Grey Cup march. joie de vivre. All the true football fans will watch. Call those plays for victory. Pass the ball on the Grey Cup march. Footballers with quality as they play to the Grey Cup march. Onward, men, you're here to play the greatest game of all. We will back you all the way. Go and win that ball. Go and win that ball.
We here at the Sports History Network proudly partner with 26 podcasts, all revolving around the history of sports. But did you know that many of our hosts were sports history authors way before they started their shows? It's true. We've got Joe Ziemba, host of When Football Was Football, Joe Zagurski, host of Pro Football in the 1970s, Mark Morthier, host of Yesterday Sports, Tommy Phillips, host of Lombardi Memories, and Scott Adamson, co-host of From the 55-Yard Line. All these authors have many books for you to choose from. To check them out, go to our website at sportshistorynetwork.com/sportshistorybooks. Pick up your copy today. Soundtrack provided by Kevin MacLeod of filmmusic.io.